So, welcome to this episode of Menopause Conversation. I'm delighted to have the lovely, colourful, wonderful Karen Arthur with me today. She's sipping her tea and she's having her protein, everybody. She's getting it all in early. Um, I saw Karen, I've met Karen in person briefly before, but if you're not following Karen on social media, I really would recommend you do because there's always wisdom, there's always laughs, there's always what I love watching you do various things like paint your bathroom and do things like that. It's fascinating to watch you and the life that revolves around you. But Karen put a post up recently about resistance she was experiencing, and I messaged Karen. I said I think that would be a great thing for us to talk about. Two postmenopausal women talking about navigating resistance and how that crops up because I don't think we're prepared for it. So let me tell you a little bit about Karen. She's amazing. It's hard to condense it into a small paragraph because there's so much to say. But she's the founder of Menopause Whilst Black, fashion creative and a teacher of over 28 years, and a menopause activist. And I think that's how I came to hear about you, Karen. You grew up in Oxfordshire. You're a Barbadian heritage and very proud of that. You trained in performing arts and you spent 2 decades teaching, and you've been a pastoral leader in a boys' school in London. Karen actually launched her own podcast, Menopause Whilst Black, inspired by George Floyd's murder, and you felt you wanted to do something. You have a passion for creating spaces for Black British people's voices and experiences, and it's placed at the heart of those conversations is wellness. Mental health, identity, and menopause. But she's also the founder of her own brilliant retreat, the Joy Retreat, which I think is absolutely lovely, and that takes place in Barbados. It's it's the world's first wellness retreat for Black women at any stage of menopause. So it's very clear who it's for, and it's very successful, Karen. You run that every year, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
Every year.
So
Every year in this year I mean next year it's in May the 4th to the 11th.
yeah, so go check out Karen's socials to know more about that. But today, what we're going to explore is the often overlooked postmenopause phase, a time that can feel disorientating as we try to establish a new normal. I definitely feel like I'm nowhere near my new normal. So let's talk about that resistance we feel, Karen, when it comes to exercise, wellness, and friendship. So I suppose what I'd like to do is for you to, if you wouldn't mind, personally defining the postmenopause phase that you're experiencing and why you think it can feel so disorientating for women and people going through this stage.
I think hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me,
You're welcome.
Amantha. I hope you've taken your vitamins. No, I'm
I have actually. I haven't had my protein, but I've had my vitamins.
so postmenopause. I feel like it's the stage that no one talks about. It's like you get through it's like, oh well, you've gotten through it now. But actually this there's a lot that goes on with postmenopause because your hormones are still, moving around. I need to put my hand up. Not a doctor. I'm an expert on myself, but I'm also learning every day about what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And whilst I love being my age, I'm 63 years old, and I also am struggling with the routines that I've had to tweak around my diet, my exercise, my how I feel about my changing body, my routines, all of it. And I suppose, you get to a certain age and you're used to certain things, and then having to switch things up. Like I've been saying, right, well, if you get a handle on your diet and your exercise in your 30s and your 40s, then when you get to postmenopause, you'll have it licked. Absolutely not true. Can I swear, by the way?
Yes, of course. Be
I
your
just,
authentic self. It's absolutely
I just,
fine.
I just self-censored myself. Then I thought, that's not me. Anyway, it's not true. And I certainly have found that I've become complacent. So I have my background is in dance. I taught dance for 20 years, but I also ended up as a pastoral leader in a very busy boys' school. So I actually ended up teaching for it. It was 28 years in the end.
Yeah.
And I've always been someone who was fit. Let's just put it that way. I either went to the gym, although I'm not a big fan of gyms, and I certainly don't belong to one now. They're very testosterone fueled. Lots of people grunting.
Yes, loudly.
Not a fan. Not a fan. But also I started to get into what was called jogging, which is now called running. I I've always been someone who stretched, did my yoga, went to dance classes, yada yada blah blah, swam, all the things. And then when I got after I had I've got two daughters, and when I had my second daughter, that was the first time I started to put on weight. And at that time, I'm more interested in the fact that I can't fit into my clothes and I don't have a flat stomach anymore. And I'm absolutely like floored by that. And so I start to restrict my eating, and exercising more and doing all the things that we've been taught to do. I start counting calories, and it might work, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all because what I don't know is that I'm in the throes of perimenopause. I haven't got a
Right.
clue.
Right.
I don't know perimenopause is a thing. It's not a word. Uh, I just know that I want to look a certain way, and that's really important to me at the time. Fast forward 20, 2 decades later, I'm actually half a stone lighter, but my body composition has changed.
Mm.
And I, before, I never used to worry, except for when I was kind of dieting. I never really worried about what I was eating per se. I knew that it's best to cut out sugars and things like that. But, I drank with the rest of them. Not much. I've never been a great drinker actually.
No.
But I like a good dark Barbadian rum.
Okay.
Um, and things like that. So at this age now, what's triggered this was not so much two things. One, my when I looked at the mirror, I didn't really like what I saw. And that didn't sit right with me. So in order to combat that, I decided to attack it head on. So I joined a burlesque class because that's completely normal, isn't it? I thought, how can I make myself fall back in love with my body again? I know. I'll take my clothes off in front of strangers. So I did that. I joined a lovely class, the Hastings Burlesque School, and spent 8 weeks. I did two courses. One was the 8 week course of, like burlesque is stripping basically.
Yeah.
And then the second course was act development. So you work towards a performance. And it was great. It was scary,
Yeah.
really scary. My God, really scary, really empowering. Um, uh, a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making my costume, coming up with my, design, coming up with my little 4 minute, 3.5 minute piece. Um, Remember, I've got a background in performing arts, so it was kind of
Yeah.
close
That's
to
going
my
to
heart.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the middle of that, I fell back in love with my boobs and my saggy bum. Where's my bum gone, by the way? Has anybody found it? It,
Missing in
and
action.
my thickening waist. And I will also say, I put a post on it on Instagram on my V Karen Arthur page, and I had to say that people look at me and think, "Oh, you've got nothing to worry about because you look a certain way." And we have to remember that you can't see what I see. What's in my
Mm.
head is not in your head. And so you might not see anything. That's not for me, it's not necessarily about what I see, it's about how I feel. And so I wanted to feel better about my changing body. And it worked. And I recommend it. It's not for everybody, but
No.
I recommend it. But the other thing that triggered it was also I had to have blood tests. I take MHT. So I had to take my yearly blood test, and I'd been re-diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Now, the first time I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes was in 2022, and I was mortified, and I kept it to myself for a while because even people I spoke to, when I told them, close friends said, "But you don't look pre-diabetic." And
Right.
there's no such thing as looking anything, you know, in terms of fitness. We know that the
Mm.
BMI is racist. We know that it is not an accurate measure of how healthy we are, um, and so on and so forth. So my sister is a registered dietitian. I almost called her a nutritionist. She would kill me. She's a registered, I know. Sorry, Mandy, love you. Uh,
Love you. Didn't mean
she's
it.
a registered. dietitian.
Yeah.
And so she went into full, right, we're going to help Karen mode. And it was brilliant. She sent me a lovely, wonderful book. She talked to me, sent me podcast things. She still sends me podcast things. It's great. And then I had a couple of years where my levels were fine
Yes.
and I was out of the danger zone. And then 2 months ago, I got a bloody pre-diabetes diagnosis
Yeah.
again. And
Yeah.
I know I had kind of relaxed around my health and I'd become complacent. But also my habits had lapsed. So I have a real, I have a sweet tooth. I love my
Yes.
cakes and all the rest of it. But I also have a habit, which is where when I go in the kitchen, I have to eat.
I hear you. The cupboard doors just fly open, don't they, Karen? And the next thing your hand's in there.
They literally, food jumps out at me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to call the police.
Yeah.
Um,
Good
and
luck with
that
that.
unfortunately will happen at night when I'm going to fill up my water bottle.
I know.
And I think and also I have mouth boredom.
Yes, I
So
loved
I
when I
read
heard you
somewhere, I don't
first
know
say
who it
that.
was.
Mouth boredom.
I don't know where I first saw it, but they said, "Are you hungry or is your mouth bored?" And I'll tell you what, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's bored.
I get mouth boredom. So and that thing also where you've eaten and you almost be nice to have a sweet treat, a dessert. Like dessert
Yes.
has to happen. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Even though you're
And
full.
these are things that aren't helping my blood sugar levels at all, which means it also has a knock-on effect on where the fat settles in my body. I am someone who exercises. I walk almost every day. I swim when I can once a week, not in the sea. I live by the sea, but I don't swim in that sea. I get the pool. And I also do my stretching, I do reformer Pilates. I do all the things, you know. So when I got this pre-diabetes diagnosis, oh God, here we go again. You
Yeah.
know. So it's learning. I'm learning post-menopause. You don't necessarily get the chance to lapse or relax in some senses. But the other side to that is I am also learning to be kinder to myself. It is okay if once in a while I decide that I want half a cinnamon roll or a quarter of a cinnamon roll, or, do you know what I mean? What
Yes.
it is about being much more aware of what triggers my craving for something incredibly sweet or eating at 11 o'clock at night. If I happen to be up, who's up at 11 o'clock at night? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. So, yeah, don't know what the question was. There's a lot of banging going on. Can you hear it?
No, it's fine.
Good,
If it's okay for
good,
you. Yeah, I suppose
good.
well the question was really is about, and you've answered it beautifully, which is it's disorientating for many people. It's
Oh, and yeah, and the protein. Sorry, I can't stop talking without talking about protein.
go on
Can we
then.
talk about
Go
protein,
on then.
please?
Go on then.
I have never thought more about food since I was a kid, I think, and about the types of food. I
I
am
know.
not eat. I now realize I've been working with a lovely woman, Mira Bogal, and we have conversations about protein all the bloody time. I'm not getting enough. So what I thought I was eating a lot, I was
Yes.
eating a lot of the wrong thing. So
Yes.
now what I'm looking at is where my protein sources are from, making sure that I get enough, the types of protein, whether it's, meat or fish, or whether it's dairy or,
Yes.
tofu or stuff like that, and not getting bored. And also, I'm someone who doesn't really like to cook. I would like a chef, please. Just putting it out to the universe.
Okay, we'll put that in the show
Um,
notes.
yeah, please, preferably a cute one. Anyway, I digress. I'm not digressing. My point is that lots of things are changing, and in the middle of that, I'm also trying to be gentle with myself and cut myself some slack when I do fancy something that perhaps isn't going to serve my diet well, but is going to fill my soul. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
That makes
Because we've
complete
got to
sense.
live.
Oh, and it's got to have joy in it. If we take all the
Oh,
joy out of our lives, there really is no point.
Absolutely. So that I think the balance for me is balancing. I want to be healthy. I have a 6-year-old, almost 6-year-old grandson, and he's very, very energetic. And I'm now having some wonderful conversations with him. And I want to be able to run around with him. And when he visits me, take him to the seaside. And I want to stay healthy for him, you know.
Yes.
But also, when I'm healthy, I feel better. I feel when I can't walk, when I'm sick, when we're in bed, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
um, it feels a bit shit. And so there's lots of reasons to want to look at creating a diet and a lifestyle that serves me well, but is also full of color, creativity, dancing, art, seeing friends, hugs, walks by the sea. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
I
It's not
think
one thing, it's many things,
it's
isn't
not
it?
one
It's
thing.
a
It's
buffet of
not
things.
one thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay if one of those things is half a donut.
I hear you, sister. Definitely. In fact, can I just say a whole donut? Because I think there would never be
Yeah,
that survival
do you
of
know
that
what I've
half
taken to
donut.
doing? And I was side-eyeing myself the other day. I got a cinnamon roll. I got a cinnamon roll. It was free. I can't resist. I'm very bad at resisting free food.
Yeah.
I was at an event and this roll was waving at me. So I wrapped it up and I took it home. Honestly, I can't believe I did this. I cut it into quarters, ate one and put the other three in the freezer. But can I just tell you,
Are they still
every
there?
now and then I go in the freezer, take that quarter out and chuck it in the air fryer to warm it up because that's all I use my air fryer.
Oh,
Who are these people who make full meals in air fryers?
I
I
know,
don't
I
really.
know.
Anyway, and I had that with a cup of tea. Listen,
Oh,
the joy, it was worth it. So I've become someone who cuts up donuts and
that
cinnamon
is
rolls
really,
to protect myself from myself. But you know
yeah.
what? Works for me.
And you know I think you've hit on something really powerful there because it's almost as though like we're told to get through this perimenopause stage and then it's menopause and then it's all and then that's it. It's like there's a full
Yeah.
stop has suddenly appeared at that
But you know
menopause
why
bit.
that is? It's because no one encourages people socialized as women to think beyond that. Because at that point, we are no longer useful to the patriarchy.
Mm,
We can't have babies, and apparently we're not sexy. Although I beg to differ.
yeah.
Look at us.
Hello.
Do you see what I
Hello.
mean? And so I honestly feel like that I want more postmenopausal women like ourselves to be out there and
Yeah.
talking and thriving and enjoying life and laughing in the face of patriarchy and white
Yeah.
supremacy.
And not subscribing to these outdated stereotypes
Yeah. So
that
I think
still
that's
pervade.
why
Yeah.
that conversation isn't necessarily there. And I feel, as you know, really strongly about taking up space
Mm,
physically
yes.
and on socials and just generally in my life, trying things and doing things and challenging myself, and also choosing not to do things and changing my mind and allowing myself to go in different directions to see how that works, because the stereotype of a 63, you think 63, well, you're not think you might think Karen Arthur, but you're probably not. If you Google grandma, I remember I started my podcast and one of the things I said was, I know we'll talk about this, but one of the things I said was, if you Google menopause and click images, what do you see?
Mm,
And it was white women, white women with headaches. If you Google grandma now, what do you see? And I'll leave that because you've got your white hair and your knitting, or you've got glamorous grannies, or do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I just feel we're everywhere. You wouldn't know we were grandmas unless you asked us, or we
Yes.
told you. And
Yes.
it's why grandma's locks. I wrote a book, by the way.
Yes, yes, we didn't mention that, and
I
that's
didn't mention the book.
and, but
Yeah,
that's
go on. I know you're
inspiring,
trying
isn't
to
it?
get it worded. Good
Yeah,
luck. I did say to you, good luck.
I should have had my protein. I'd have been faster off the mark. Um,
You would. I'll let you speak.
No, lovely, it's absolutely fine. And that no, but that's actually part of the inspiration, isn't it? You know, how many people are writing books, you know, at any stage in their lives, but the fact is you
Yeah,
have
getting
done that.
publishing
Tell
deals,
us tell
absolutely
us a bit
brilliant.
about your book, because like your grandson is a massive inspiration to you. And I suppose for
Yeah.
any of us, it's about finding something that does inspire us, does motivate us, gives us that reason to maybe look at our lives differently. And if we want to change things up, we're going to change it. But tell us about Grandma's Locks.
I will, but I just want to say this.
Yeah, go for it.
There's this thing that we're taught when we're little, and it pervades schooling, where you have to choose and stick at it.
Mm,
And there's also this thing around finding purpose,
mm,
and that purpose needs to be one thing. And I think that really buggers us up, you know.
mm.
It certainly has buggered me up,
Okay.
you know, and I feel like, you know, I was teaching for 28 years. I stopped teaching. I had a breakdown slash breakthrough, moved through that, therapy, journaling, all the things, became a fashion designer, and then thought for a while, oh, well, I've got to stick at that now.
Yes.
I now realise that I was put on this earth to thrive,
Hmm.
and that means trying the things that I want to try. So the
Yeah.
book came about, Grandma's Locks, available in all good bookstores around the world now, um, came about because my grandson was born in 2000, late 2019. And we went into lockdown, as you know, in 2020, so I
Mm,
couldn't see him. And I was so full of this unexplained love for this tiny human who I wasn't really getting to touch a lot, you know, and I could only see him online or from afar at the end of the gate and all that rubbish. Well, not rubbish, but you know what
yeah.
I mean. That I wrote this poem. And through a series of serendipitous things, events, it ended up in the hands of the children's commissioning editor, book editor for at the Tate. They loved it. And so it took us 4 or 5 years, 4 years to get it to publication because we also had 2 years of lockdown,
Yeah.
Illustrator, you know, changed hands, all that kind of stuff. So the book is my grandson is mixed heritage, he's mixed race. His father is white, his mum is my daughter. And so his hair is a different texture to mine. And
Yes.
I am fully aware of how mixed race kids can be fetishized and how there is this diet. If you put mixed race kids into Instagram, it's quite disturbing,
Oh,
actually.
really?
Because yes, because there's all this emphasis on their skin color and their
Mm,
hair and how pretty they are, and not around their heritage and what they're learning from the
mm,
dual cultures. And I think that's important. I wanted my grandson to be proud of himself and proud of his hair and proud and do what he wants to do. I didn't want him to feel that he needed to make himself smaller or dumb himself down. So Grandma's Locks is a it's basically a celebration of our relationship, the relationship between a grandmother and her mixed race son, but also a celebration of our hair. So I don't, my locks are a bob now, but they used to be down my back when he was born. And so there are lots of beautiful illustrations by Camilla Rue of me and my grandson doing various things, me with my hair flowing, and descriptions of what his hair does and what my hair does, and how they're different, but they're also similar, but also about our heritage. And it feels like an advert for the book. But I'm really proud of it. It's a beautiful book.
yeah.
Um, it's a beautiful book. The illustrations are incredible. Camilla, God love her. The book went through 14 versions because I just kept emailing, you know, sending emails back to Camilla saying, brighter, brighter. And she's absolutely nailed it. And she's nailed my likeness. She's nailed my grandson's
Yeah.
likeness.
It's beautiful
And
because we just before we joined the call, I saw the image of it and it is really
right.
stunning. It's
And I,
joyous. It's joyous to see.
but I feel as an older woman and as an older person, I rail against being put in a box. It's why it's so
Yes.
hard to read my bio, and it's why people always leave things out because I'm always, or it needs updating because I've done something else. And I
Yes.
like that about my life. I
Yes.
love that I'm an author. I
Yeah.
love that I have a podcast. I love that I also have a radio show, which we didn't mention,
No,
you
there we
know,
go. There we
which
go.
is
Yeah.
where, I love that I was a teacher. I love that I'm a grandma. I love that I don't live in London anymore.
Yeah.
I love that I'm able to, and I recognize the privilege around being able to curate my life ostensibly in the way that I want to. And that was a conscious decision I made when I came through depression, was that if I'm going to live for another 30 or 40 years, I'm only going to do things that I love.
Yes.
And that is mm, when we realize freedom is really important to me. And I think that much as I love teaching, until it didn't love me, it kept me quite small. I mean, I was able to, move to pop up the ranks in terms of being a
Yeah.
pastoral leader, but I was tied to being a teacher in
Yeah.
terms of what, even down to when I went to the loo, between
Yes.
lessons, or
Yes.
or taking work home, or my holidays or stuff like that. Being ill in holidays. Anybody who's a teacher who listens to this knows full well that people bang on about 6 weeks. It's not 6 weeks now, by the way, some holiday, but you're ill for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then the dread the week before and the preparation you're doing in the middle of that. And when I realized through my poor mental well-being that I had a choice in my life, that I'm a grown up, I can on the whole do what I like. you know, and choice is huge. And I don't think enough people who are socialized as women understand how many choices they have. How
Mm.
many times have we been to an event that we didn't want to go to? How many times have we said yes when we absolutely were screaming with every fiber of our being, I don't want to do that? How many times have we been polite to someone for the sake of work? You know, how many times have we, run an errand for someone when we don't really have the time to do it? We're allowed to say no. And I
Mm.
think when we recognize those choices, it's such a powerful feeling. And even now, I, as many of us are recovering people pleasers or people pleasers, full stop. My good
Yes.
friend Natalie Lou, wrote a book that I recommend to everybody and mention on practically every podcast, which is called The Joy of Saying No.
Okay.
And it is incredible. And you will read it and recognize the traits that you have or that other people have, different
Mm.
types of people pleasers, the way in which we say yes to things that we absolutely do not serve us. And it shows up in our bodies. And the reason I feel that I had a breakdown is one, I was trying to uh, I was trying to continue doing things that I didn't agree with in terms of toe the line at school. I was fighting my menopause. I was fighting it and kind of
Mm.
pushing it to the back of my head. I kind of knew I had it, but I wasn't making the connection. And I'd had a breakup years before that and completely ignored it. Just carried on,
Yes.
put blinkers on and just gone, oh, got to keep my job, got to keep my house, got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
And so it all caught up with me. And I
Yes.
now know that when I'm not well, when I'm run down, when I get an injury, if I think about it, it's back to something that I am trying to power through. And I
Mm.
try very hard not to do that. And it is a daily quest, I would say. People say, oh, you're
I,
so confident.
yeah,
I work at that.
I would agree with you. I had this situation. I told you just before we started that I had
Mm,
COVID,
mm,
and I'd just come back from a lovely time with my family, a full week of work. I can't tell you, it wasn't the COVID that really got to me. It was the anxiety around, I know I shouldn't be at work. I know if this was anybody else, I would be saying
yeah,
to you, it's madness. You're going to go traveling, let alone the integrity. I didn't want to infect other people once I knew.
yeah,
But the absolute minute I did the right thing by myself,
that's it.
the relief, Karen, I cannot tell you. It was like I just put down like a backpack that was so incredibly heavy, carrying my own weight.
Mm,
The responsibility, the pressure, the what will
mm,
people think?
Yeah.
What, does this mean that no one's going to employ me again? My
But this
mind
is,
just went into absolute spiraling. So I do understand what you're saying there.
but we're rewarded for giving to others all our lives.
Mm,
Women are expected to pick up, to do everything.
yeah.
And so it's no wonder that by the time you've had 5 decades, I don't know how old you are, but you've had decades and
53, soon to
decades.
be 54.
Right. So you've got decades and decades of conditioning,
Yeah.
which means that when you put yourself first, you think it's selfish. And so we
Yes.
don't.
Yeah.
And we power on. And we do it all the time.
Yeah.
And
And
the relief, my eldest daughter is very good at telling me about myself. And one of the
our
things
children
that,
are,
and
aren't they?
yeah, and one of the things that helps, that she helps me with, but also I've helped her with, is that how do you feel when you say no?
Yeah.
Or when you let go, or when you say, actually, I can't do that, you know, if it's relief, well,
It tells
that's
you
the
all you
thing.
need to know.
It tells you everything you need to know. But I've made what's the book? The Body Keeps Score.
When the
We
body keeps
make
score.
ourselves ill
Yeah.
because we are so conditioned to be valued for our productivity, for
Yes.
our ability to help other people. And we want that connection so much that we forget that actually that's not true connection. I noticed when I left teaching, people dropped away because I was no
Mm,
longer useful to them,
yes. I've had that. I've
and
had that recently, Karen. I've lost three significant friendships. Friendships forged during the sort of formative years of my daughter's
mm,
life. And
mm,
you're right. When I dared to show any vulnerability, I suddenly became redundant in other
mm,
people's eyes. And
yeah.
it's quite a leveling experience, actually.
And it hurts,
Mm,
actually. It hurts because we want to be loved.
yeah.
But we need to find, my quest is to recognize that I'm enough. It sounds really wanky, but it's so true. Like if I do nothing, if I stop doing all the things, I've done enough. I get to live life on my terms. We're allowed to live life on our terms. But capitalism, late stage capitalism, call it what you like, white supremacy, call it what you like, all of that will feed into, and those societal expectations will feed into our need to keep going when it absolutely is making us ill. And
Yeah.
menopause is a reckoning, can be a reckoning for that.
Mm,
So I
I
think
agree.
post-menopause, I thought I'd got it licked. I thought, oh, sorted now. Got me MHT, got my routine. I'm fine. Am I fuck?
That's what it feels like. I'm the same. I'm like, hang on a minute, wasn't
Yeah.
this meant to be the euphoric moment? Wasn't
Yeah.
where is it? Because I've been waiting some time for it to all
Yeah.
feel okay, and it
But
didn't.
the good thing is that the things that I used to care about, I don't care about anymore.
Yes, yeah,
So I suppose, the growth that's happening, whether it's questioning whether my ego's a bit too much involved in my decision making,
about that
you
donut.
know, you know, or really thinking about, okay, so why is this happening, but also not caring too much about what people think. And when I don't turn up, or when I do what they're calling an Irish goodbye or a French goodbye, where you don't say goodbye to everybody when you leave an event or not turning up to an event. That's on me. Sorry, that's on you. I need to go to bed at 9 o'clock tonight, or I don't want to spend another half an hour saying goodbye to everybody. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm going to see you
Yeah,
next week.
yeah,
Or that kind. Oh, I've seen you. Do you
yes,
see what I mean?
yeah.
I
I've seen.
don't, I
Yeah,
don't care. I
I've given
certainly
my
don't care
energy.
about what people think. Yeah, about what I'm wearing, obviously.
Yeah,
Whereas in the past, my style and outside validation was incredibly important to me. Validation of the way that I looked, how slim I was, how cute
yes,
I looked. Really important, especially from men, but also from my friends, from women. Really important to me. Now it doesn't matter. And I think it shows in the sense that I'm still very much interested in fashion and style.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just not interested in buying trends because I'm also not interested in spending money on fast fashion. I'm much more likely to find a different way to wear something in my wardrobe
Yeah.
or go secondhand,
And you know,
So
and I had a realization quite recently that, you know, I have said quite openly that I've gone through a phase of feeling quite lonely.
mm,
Lonely in like, you
yeah,
know, thinking about my friendship group, what do I
mm,
want now? I'm not the same as I was in my 20s, the 30s, or even
no,
40s. And I think that let's call it isolation because I can't think of a better word right now. But when we go through this period of feeling a bit more isolated and not really knowing who we are, what we want, where we're going, you're in like an almost that holding state. I think that's okay. And I would invite people to sit in whatever that's going to offer you, that, you know,
yeah,
you're going to get some wisdom. And I definitely feel like I can hear my inner voice more loudly now than at any other time in my life,
yeah,
and I'm willing
yeah,
to listen to her. I've made some very big decisions recently, like huge. I think it would shock
yeah,
most people, the sort of big decisions
yeah,
I've
yeah,
made. But I've made them because I've sat in the discomfort of this doesn't feel okay. But I'm now hearing there's a small little voice that's getting incrementally louder and louder inside of me, and I'm willing to listen to it. And I loved what you said
mm,
about your daughter. My daughter, I like think, God, you must see my soul because some of the things you say to me
yeah,
just lift me. They raise me up. They make me feel like, yeah, I'm ready to keep going. So I personally would also say to people, you know, menopause is an opportunity for growth. And I know that sounds a bit like, oh God, growth. But I suppose whatever you want it to be, but becoming the best version of yourself for yourself,
yeah,
not being the best for other people, but just for you, whatever that looks like. So I encourage people to look forward to it. You know, yeah, prepare yourself as much as you can. But I think what Karen and I are both saying is every day is a different day. You know, you just maybe need a bit of a toolkit to go
yeah. Never a
gently with
dull moment.
yourself.
Never a dull moment. Like, and I really hear what you're saying. I think also when we say, menopause is an opportunity, it is, but also it's not for many people, then we're also speaking from a place of privilege. Let's be very clear here.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who aren't in the position to be able to see it as an opportunity, and they also don't know what's going on with them. People
Yes.
around the world, people in marginalized communities who are still being ignored when they go to the doctors, don't know that they can go to the doctors, are being, there's medical bias within the industry. There's a lot going on. And whilst we're making leaps and strides in the last few years around menopause education, anti-racism and menopause is still an issue that needs addressing radically. And
Mm.
I don't know how, what's the word, willing institutions are able, want to do that, which is why Menopause Whilst Black exists, which is why we speak, or which is why things like the Health Collective exist and Black Girls Guide to Menopause in America exist about uplifting and amplifying the voices of people in marginalized communities who aren't being heard,
Yes.
and why it's important for white folks to be speaking up as well, not just about menopause, but let's just stick to menopause for the moment. you know,
No, but, but
um,
generally, isn't it? It's like,
mm,
you know, we've got to use our voices, or we've all got to use our voices to
mm,
amplify, to make it fair for everybody.
and on loneliness, trailblazing is lonely. I own that I'm lonely.
Yeah.
Just facts. And how it affects me differently on different days, you know.
Yeah.
And not lonely just because I'm not with a partner, but lonely in the, well, no one does what we're doing. No one is living your life or my life in exactly the same way.
No.
And so as I found, that as I've gotten older, my circle has got, I know a lot of people, but my close circle has gotten very, very small.
Mm.
And on the whole, I kind of like that. But every now and then, it would be nice for someone to just get it, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's about, there's nothing, loneliness can be a gateway to poor mental well-being, but there's nothing wrong uh, in understanding that you're lonely. It's recognizing that it will pass and recognizing the types of things you can do to help yourself move through it.
Yeah,
because we have to feel all these feelings, don't we? There's no point in
definitely.
separating,
And
you know.
I take some responsibility myself in terms of my loneliness. I recognize why I feel lonely. It's because I've spent most of my life fawning and people pleasing people, being useful, being in service
Yeah,
of everybody else other than myself. And I've
yeah,
woken up. I've realized that that's what I'm
yeah,
doing, and I'm not
yeah.
willing to do it anymore. And therefore,
Yeah.
no surprises that a whole group of people dropped away
People
because
don't like that, do they?
I made myself redundant in their eyes,
Yeah.
and I suppose that's why I also like working for myself. I'm not built for the corporate environment. I can't
Yeah.
stand the bullshit and the
Mm,
hypocrisy anymore, and
mm.
my mouth just won't stay shut. So it's better that
Yeah.
I
I've made myself completely unemployable.
yeah, same.
So I
And I
won't do as
like
I'm
it that
told.
way. I like it that
Yeah.
way. It's great.
Yeah.
Works for me. And you are right about the privilege because we exist in this manosphere bubble vacuum, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it's getting depressing by the minute, quite honestly.
Mm.
I had a lovely chat with Dr. Vikram Talalika the other evening. He did a
Mm.
podcast to me, and we both said, you know, it's like there are days where honestly, Karen, I think I'm done. Like
Well, yeah, I agree. I think, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been
yeah,
speaking about menopause in a public space for 5 years. That's
yeah,
what I want to say. I've been
yeah.
chatting doo-doo for much longer than that. But yeah, it's changed. And it's changed radically in the last, I would say, few months, year.
Yes,
Though I feel for people who are coming into perimenopause and want to find out more, and how bewildering, because there's so much information,
yes,
but the information can vastly contradict itself, you know. And that's where I see perimenopause and menopause as an opportunity, because it's an opportunity to go into yourself and ask yourself some questions. We're very good at self-medicating. We're
mm,
very good at ignoring the signs, and we're encouraged by the fast, 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 go, go, go hamster wheel of society, not to question too much. Even our government does that. It's like, buy this, buy that, but don't dig too deeply. And that veil is falling off the public's eyes in some sense. And I think menopause is a way of removing that veil as well, to really work out, well, do I want these supplements, or do I need these supplements, or you know, do I need a weighted vest? That's my current bugbear. Oh, do you know what I mean? Oh
Well, I
God.
was disappointed not to see you wearing it whilst eating your protein.
You
I've
know
just got to
what?
say, if I'm honest.
I'm, uh, I'm laughing because what? Listen,
Where's your weighted
do
vest,
you,
Karen?
do you, you
That's not a
don't
weighted
need,
vest round your shoulders. That looks to me like
it's
a
not a
beautiful
weighted
lips.
vest, I promise you. It sounds really bad. Listen, if people have got weighted vests, have at it. It's just not for me. That's
No.
all.
But it is, you're right. There is so much. It's like it's overwhelming. And a lot of people say that to me when I do my sessions. They just go, "Oh, do you know what? It's just like knowing where do you go to for credible advice?" Because
Yeah.
what someone said last week seems to have been sort of totally rubbish this week, or people
Yeah.
say things with such gusto. And we've got a lot of powerful influences on social media, but it's almost like we get 75% of the information. We don't get the
Yeah.
25% that actually is, this could really interact with some of your medication, this might not be so good for
Absolutely.
you. And you're right. So then it actually means, okay, so I listened to that, but actually now I've got to go and do some more work, but I haven't got the time to go and do that research, or I don't know
Or
what to
I'm
do.
not being given the time off to go and do the
Or I don't
research.
have
Or
access to, like
yeah,
we saying about
there's a
privilege,
lot.
not everyone has access to the internet or the
Yeah.
mechanism to find this information out. So, that's why people
Absolutely.
like, I mean, Joyce Harper is doing great work with,
Oh, she's
with doing,
incredible.
and Nigat
I'm
Arif,
laughing
Aziz
because every time I
Sasay.
see her, I just giggling. She just makes me giggle.
Yeah, she's so brilliant. And it's about that accessibility piece, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that we can make sense of it. And I suppose it's, actually it's okay to say, no, I don't want to try that. Everyone else might be
Yeah.
trying that, but I don't want to try that.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. There's this whole thing around, people. Also, the media loves to pit women against each other, to be
Oh,
fair,
don't
as
they?
well. So, you could be forgiven for thinking, right, well, there's the MHT brigade, which used to be HRT, which are we calling it PET or
We are not,
POT
no,
now?
because we'll have to call it pot if it's here in the UK, Karen. Just want to say,
I think that if we called it pop, more people would take it. But
I
anyway,
I think you're right. Let's campaign for
so
that.
yeah, right. So there's the MHT, and there's people who don't take MHT or can't take MHT, and it's almost like, oh, well, they're fighting against each other. No, they're not. No, we're not. Honestly, take what suits you. I didn't take MHT for ages because I believed the old research, but also I didn't think it was something that black women did. And then
Yes,
I obviously got more into it, and then I thought, you know what, let me try. If I hate it, I'll come off it. And also that takes a while to kind of get the dosage right. I
yes,
moved brands. I took a good year to kind of sort myself out. And the jury's out whether I'm going to take it forever. I think there are the people who were absolutely gurus around MHT and like, yes, take it forever, it's amazing, all the rest of it. But you also have to remember that you still have to sort out your diet. You still have to sort out your
yes,
lifestyle. It's not this magic, gel or whatever, however you're taking it. Um, and then there's also people who are managing their menopause very well, holistically, and that's great as well. What we forget is that menopause can be very expensive.
yes.
Expensive in that I was in the meat aisle at, I don't know, Morrison's the other day, looking at the prices. How are menopausal women okay? Are we okay? Because the amount, how much does protein
I
cost?
know.
Like,
It's really, really expensive, isn't it?
honestly, had a moment was like, okay, so I can afford this. I'll grumble about it. I'll tell everyone who's alive about it, but I'll pay for it. What about people who can't afford to
Yes,
actually buy and eat protein? The cost of living is wilding out, you know. So I worry about, yes, it's great having a prescription for MHT for a whole year. But again, what about the people who can't take it? What about the people who don't want to take it? How about I'd like a prescription for my grocery shop, thank you very much.
Exactly. And one thing I
You
would also like to add in is, we're starting to see more research and evidence coming forward about the impact of trauma, our
know.
dysregulated nervous systems. I
Yeah.
definitely found that, a very short amount of time I was okay on MHT, and then a very
Yeah.
long period of time where I wasn't.
Oh,
Is that
hold
someone
it. Hold it.
knocking?
I've just heard something. I don't know. Let me just check.
There was nobody at the door, everybody. We're
No, no,
okay.
no,
We're
no, no.
okay.
All
We've got
fine.
no
All fine.
additional guests coming in. So, well, I suppose that's lovely natural break. I suppose let's summarize then and bring this
Yes.
lovely conversation to a pause for now. But so we're talking about resistance, but I think actually what I myself have heard there is, yeah, there's resistance, but actually some of that resistance can be by personal choice. There are
Yes.
things we can
Oh,
choose to resist as well
yeah.
as general resistance. But what have you taken either from this conversation or what you know to be true yourself, Karen, about how you process resistance generally at this stage in your life? Do you have a strategy that works for you?
Yes. Journaling. I write it down. When
Great.
because I'm an overthinker and I'm very good at getting in my head. So I know that journaling and a good night's sleep. So if I am resisting something or something's coming up and I can't work out what it is or I'm worried about something,
Yeah.
then I don't make any decisions on the same day, but also I write it down and I write down what am I afraid of? What's really going on here? Why are you not going to do that thing? Or why are you going to do that thing? Is your ego involved?
Mm.
So if anything, it's time. It's not jumping to conclusions or trying not to jump to conclusions. Or if I do jump to conclusions, also being fully aware that in 24 hours I may feel differently. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, I think journaling is an incredible tool. It's one of the workshops that we do on the Joy Retreat. And it's something that I started to do properly, and by properly I mean almost daily, when I left teaching
Right.
and moved into depression. It was, I don't know, I don't remember who suggested it, but in the past I'd written what I call diaries,
Yes.
but I was actually writing sporadically and they were always depressing. Whereas
Right.
my journal is used to brain dump. I do morning pages where I write, 3 pages of whatever I'm feeling first thing in the morning. And the first, couple of pages are probably drivel, and then it's the third page where everything kind of, clicks, I think.
Yes.
And it also it allows my brain to process what's going on. So I might not come to a decision or come to necessarily a solution um, in that particular moment, but it'll allow me to be thinking about it and looking around, and the answers just come.
Mm.
We have the answers inside us. We know that when we have that second glass of wine, we're going to feel shit the next day. I know that when I go in that kitchen at 11 o'clock at night and decide to, I don't know, have a slice of bread and as thick as much butter as I can get on on the surface, I know that that doesn't serve me. I do it anyway. So we have the answers. We know that we're in relationships that don't serve us. But the unknown is really scary.
Mm.
And we I suppose there's that whole thing around, well, what's the worst that can happen? And to flip that on its head, what's the best that can happen? Why
Yes.
do we always assume that the worst is going to happen? Why can't we assume that things are going to be great? I never thought I'd leave teaching,
No.
and here we are.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I never thought I'd leave my relationship. In fact, I was led to believe that it would be the worst thing I ever did. Hands down, the best thing I ever did. You
Yes.
know, I never thought I'd leave London. I'm now living with a sea view.
Yeah.
So we know it's just hard, and
Yeah.
then it's easier. And if it's for us, it will align. So
Yeah.
for me, it's giving myself time, grace, and space, and that will
Mm, it's
be
lovely.
journaling. It might be stretching. It might be going for a walk. Will definitely involve going to bed. Um, it might also involve, speaking with someone close to me.
Yeah.
But usually, I'm the kind of person, once I've opened my mouth, I kind of know, but I just double checking. I'm
Yeah.
doing a perspective check. You
Yes.
know, my daughter I mentioned, Kareem, she's very what do you want to hear what you want to hear, or do you want the truth? Do you know what I mean? It's like straight no chaser. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really, really lovely. And I think the whole journaling thing is really interesting because so many people think, oh, no, but you need to be good at journaling, you need to love it. But
No.
actually what you're saying is just maybe start with it and let go, just accept the
Write what
process.
you see. Write what you see, then you can write how you feel in your body and see how that goes. There are lots and lots of journaling exercises online. There's a wonderful Instagram account called the School of Journaling, actually.
Okay.
And so it's run by Jackie Holder and Fiona Parashar, and they do a Tuesday morning journaling thing with prompts and ideas, and then on Zoom, and it's free. And
Wow.
then they give you 45 minutes to get on with your own work, and then you come back. And it's full of writers, but not just writers, people who just want to be around with women
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
And it's great. But I feel like journaling is an underlooked resource. Um, and you can also write your future plans, you can write your
Mm.
affirmations. I've written shopping lists in there. I've written to-do lists in there. But often I write about my fears and my hopes and my goals and my
Yeah.
worries, and everything goes in there,
Yeah,
basically.
how lovely. I did have a go actually. I knew there was this lion, the portal was in open in August, and I thought, well,
Oh, Lions Portal.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought, well, I'm in for a
Do
penny,
that.
in for a pound. I'm going to do that. And do
Yeah.
you know, surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. So much of my life is curated, Karen, by
Yeah.
admin,
Yeah.
schedules, timescales.
Yeah.
And I just think I've held in my mind all my life that journaling's like the same thing, like something you've
No,
got to
it's
pin,
really not.
nail yourself to. But actually, I really enjoyed that process for 7 days. And I learned, like
I
you
would,
say,
yeah,
I learned a
set a
lot about
challenge.
myself. Yeah. And
I would advise anybody to set themselves, I don't know, a 7-day
yeah,
challenge and then extend it where they do, I don't know, 5 minutes of journaling, 10 minutes of journaling
yeah.
at a time every day,
And,
you know,
and,
and
and I
see
gave myself
and a
permission to
nice
say,
pen and a nice,
yes, all of that. And I
yeah,
gave
all the
myself
things.
permission to stop saying I don't like journaling. I thought that's an
Right,
untruth.
yeah,
Stop
yeah,
saying that, Amantha. It's not that you don't like journaling, you just don't know what it's about. So say that instead, or say that
yeah,
okay, I want to know more about that. So, I mean, that's
yeah.
such wonderful advice. I really don't want to finish chatting to you because I know we could go on for ages and ages. But I suppose what we can say to people watching this is, first of all, thank you to Karen. She's amazing, isn't she? I mean, we'll put all your details on your socials about the Joy
Thank you.
Retreat, about your book. So I'll ask you for those afterwards.
Mm,
But and all the ways that you can be in touch with Karen because isn't she just fabulous? But let's just remember resistance is natural. Nature has given us the
yeah,
power to resist for a reason. Not all resistance is bad. Change is hard. Let's
absolutely.
recognize that. But as Karen has shown us, consistency doesn't have to mean perfection. If you want the donut, cut it into four and put some of it in the freezer. That's
I
the
mean, that's not for everybody, but I know me.
most
And so that's worked for
yeah.
me.
And what you basically said is find what works for you. Show up even when you don't feel 100%. Give what you want to give and give
Mm,
grace to grow at your own pace. That's really
yeah.
what I heard you say there. But, I suppose we just want to wish people, whatever stage you're at in
Mm,
this journey of life, we hope that you are well. We
yeah.
want you to feel heard. Be kind to yourself, be kind to other people too, because no one knows what anyone else is going. But you know what? It's your normal. Curate it,
Yeah.
craft it, however you want to. But over to you, Karen. Last word. I mean, for you,
Last
resistance,
words.
yes.
Yes. For me it's to give yourself grace. As I said before, I'm learning to be much more gentle with myself. And I would say you're right, resistance is normal, but we have it socialized out of us. So allow your menopause to give you the opportunity to go back in to yourself and
Yeah,
and give yourself some grace and go gently
yeah.
and drink your
That's
water.
and yeah,
I'm
and
going to drink my
protein
water.
if you can. Um, and so, Karen, how can people know more about you before you go? Tell us where can people find you if they go, great, I really want to know more about this wonderful person.
So I'm on the internet at menopausewhilstblack.com. I'm on socials under the Karen Arthur or Menopause Whilst Black or Grandma's Locks.
Yeah,
Because why wouldn't I have three Instagram accounts?
yeah.
I've
Wow.
taken myself back to LinkedIn
Yes. Well,
as
we'll put
Karen
those
Arthur.
detail.
So,
We'll put your
yeah,
details there as well. And we'll put a link to your book because people, love those sorts of things. And we come
yeah,
into that time of year where people want to think about those gifts, and it sounds like such a wholesome, appropriate thing also, isn't it? We need to
yeah.
build connections with one another, and books are a great way of doing that. So Karen Arthur, what a joy to speak to you.
Oh, thank you,
And
Amantha. It's
really
been great
lovely.
fun.
I'm glad we've finally had a chance to meet. So wish you well on your day and all that
Thank
brings
you.
you. And we'll catch up again next time. Karen Arthur, thank you so much.